Over the last few months, we have taken a look at a number of luxury subcompact crossovers, most recently the Mercedes Benz GLA and BMW X1. But there's one more German competitor in this market, and that is the Audi Q3. Now, the Audi Q3 is undercutting its closest rivals in a few categories. One, not only when it comes to pricing, but also performance. The model we have today is a 40 TFSI. Now, normally I would go with the 45, and that would be my pick for this model. But since I have this Q3 for a few hours, I figured why not do a full review and in-depth walk around. In this video, we're going to go over everything. We're going to take a look at the exterior, the interior, take it out for a test drive, and see whether you should go with a 40 TFSI or 45 TFSI if you are somebody looking to get into this market for the first time. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Audi of Falmouth in Falmouth, Maine for inviting me up here to check out the Audi Q3 and the rest of their extensive inventory. Their link will be in the description below so you can check out what they're providing in the Portland area. Also, before we get started, make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live on the channel. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right in this review. Out of all the luxury subcompact crossovers from Europe, the Audi Q3 has accurately defined this segment and its evolution over the last 10 years, as Audi's smallest offering in its SUV lineup has grown over time to meet the demands of Americans in the 2020s, much like we've seen from rivals. While being a global brand that tailors to a wide range of markets, in the US, bigger is always better, and the Q3 was one of the first to shed its lifted hatchback body for something that closely resembles the Q5. Despite the advancements this vehicle has made, it's remained attainable for shoppers, and with the list of competitors continuing to grow, Audi still stands as a formidable option simply due to the value the Q3 offers. Starting off with pricing, our model is a premium 40 TFSI, coming in at $37,400, and is the base trim for Audi subcompact crossover. Unlike Mercedes Benz and BMW, Audi is more open to offering vehicles that have a lower cost to entry, but there's some sacrifices buyers will have to make to break into the luxury market under 40 grand. Being the first to upsize amongst its domestic rivals, the Q3 set the tone and raised the bar for how large a subcompact should be, as its 177 inches in length, 73 inches in width, and 63 inches in height should be more than adequate for a buyer with a small family. Better yet, the ground clearance of just over 7 inches should be enough to tackle winter road conditions or dirt roads, but with the full paint finish on this model, we'd stay on the pavement. Playing a role in the success for the Q3, which collectively over the last handful of years has been the best-selling amongst its German competitors, is most certainly the road presence, which wears Audi's signature unassuming yet classy front fascia. Rather than over-styling to make a statement, like some manufacturers have been known to do, the Q3's sporty yet subtle appearance with a $1,300 black optic package definitely appeals to the buyer not looking to draw attention. Between the gloss black front grille, blacked out badging, painted fenders, and full LED headlights, not only does the Q3 kind of resemble the Q5 and Q7, it also exudes a sense of luxury that many entry models in this segment fail to express. Moving over to the side profile, by opting for the black optic package, the Q3 will be sitting on 19-inch, 20-spoke V-design wheels, which is a nice cosmetic upgrade over the 18s that come standard. Knowing that the larger tires might create some apprehension, ride quality really wasn't too bad, and that's a testament to Volkswagen Audi's MQB platform that brings a rigid chassis and refined suspension. You'll have body color folding side mirrors with turn signal indicators to go along with blind spot detection for added safety. Then making our way around to the back, as mentioned earlier, because of the growth spurt the second generation Q3 experienced a few years ago, the rear fascia does follow in the footsteps as the Q5, especially with the pronounced C-pillars. The rounded off body lines does give the Q3 a traditional crossover appearance at first glance, and with the full LED taillights and gloss black trim for the rear diffuser, this subcompact does appear relatively upmarket for a $40,000 vehicle. And even before you step inside, its larger footprint contrasts greatly with the Mercedes Benz GLA if you are cross-shopping the two. Under the hood, the Q3 is powered by a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, but with our model being a 40 TFSI, performance numbers come in with 184 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque, as opposed to the 228 horsepower and 251 pound-feet of torque for the 45 TFSI. Both trims will be equipped with an 8-speed automatic transmission. Your biggest sacrifice will be the straight line speed, as our Q3 will take 8.5 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour, and spending the extra $2,400 for the stronger powertrain would be our recommendation. However, with that being said, the Q3 regardless is competent, and because of its size, the maneuverability and agility is where Audi's entry point into the lineup may suit the driver who resides in the city and is in need of an urban-friendly crossover for weekly tasks. Even better, Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system does come standard for better year-round versatility, and for fuel economy, you're looking at right around 22 miles per gallon in the city and 29 miles per gallon on the highway. Stepping inside, we're greeted by power adjustable and heated leather trimmed seats for both the driver and passenger. And with this Q3 also having the $1,750 convenience package, the driver's side will have memory seat functionality as well. Not generating enough attention is that even for the premium, the driving environment is rather luxurious considering the price point. While certainly not as upscale as its larger sibling, the Q5, the cockpit does wrap around you, placing everything within arm's reach of the driver, including a touchscreen facing directly towards you. A highlight for any Audi product is the full digital gauge cluster, where you can customize the layout of this screen and showcase relevant information pertaining to fuel efficiency, date and time, and you can effortlessly select your favorite radio station by using the buttons mounted on the steering wheel. Then taking a glance over the Q3's MMI user interface, this is undoubtedly one of the cleanest and most responsive touchscreens in this segment, as Audi hasn't removed the physical buttons and dials for the dual-zone climate control, 3 double heated seats, and front and rear defrosters, which can be found directly below the head unit. While there will be quick access icons mounted to the left, this user interface is very easy to adapt to, as the menu design allows for a simple transition from your last vehicle. You'll have a rear backup camera with trajectory to go along with front and rear parking sensors when navigating tight spots in a garage or on the street. Making our way towards the center console, you'll find another row of buttons for the drive mode selector, traction control, auto start stop, and hill descent control, once again with everything placed within arm's reach. Since we have the convenience package, you also have a wireless phone charging pad with 2 USB-C inputs mounted to the left. Then for the center storage compartment, you'll have enough room for smaller items. And to round out the front seating area, above will be a panoramic moonroof, which will bring in a lot of natural light to the interior. Now moving on to the second row, we're going to sit off on the passenger side. And this seat has been pretty much adjusted all the way back and it's somewhat on a recline. And surprisingly, I still have a few inches of legroom to work with here. Now, legroom dimensions comes in at around 36.1 inches, which is pretty standard for a vehicle of this size. If you're somebody who does have a bigger family and a growing family, you're going to want to go with the Audi Q5. But if you're just looking for a smaller compact vehicle that you can tool around in the city or suburbs, this is going to be a great choice because you're still going to have enough room that you can accommodate average size adults, but also maybe your friends if you are going on a bit of a road trip. Also, another thing too that is a bit impressive here for a subcompact crossover is the fact that you do have a decent amount of headroom. And even with the panoramic moonroof, you're really not going to be sacrificing that headroom at all. So I think the taller passengers will be able to sit back here pretty comfortably. Now, moving on to the center seat, you are going to have some great placements for your feet. Once again, a bit of a surprise for a vehicle in this market. The center hump is pretty aggressive though, so that is one thing to keep in mind here, because you might not be able to squeeze in that third person. You'll have a better time doing that with the Q5 rather than the Q3. And that is just something I've talked about quite a bit in this market, where even the X1, X2, and Mercedes Benz GLA, they're just too small to accommodate an average-sized adult in the center, but maybe you could squeeze in a smaller child. And then on the driver's side, this seat is adjusted to someone of my height, around 5'5", and I have plenty of legroom here where I can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the driving experience. Also, another thing too is that even for a model that's leaning more towards the base side of things, it is pretty comfortable. These seats do provide a good amount of support and also a decent amount of bolstering as well. Also back here, you do have 2 rear air vents to go along with climate control. You can adjust the dial from hot to cold air, which I think is pretty cool to see for a vehicle in this market. Also have a 12-volt outlet, 2 USB-C inputs, and rounding out the second row seating area, you do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders. And then making your way around to the back, you are going to receive a power liftgate, and inside, behind the second row seats, you're looking at right around 23.7 cubic feet of room, which is only going to be outclassed by the BMW X1 and X2. If you're looking for a luxury subcompact crossover that's also practical, you're going to want to choose the Q3 over the Mercedes Benz GLA. This is more than just being a lifted hatchback. This truly is a small compact crossover. Now, I was able to fit all my camera gear today, no problem. So that's 3 bags of camera gear, 2 tripods, and a gimbal box. And I still have a bit more room for additional equipment if I wanted to go a bit more in depth on cinematography for this video. Then with the second row seats folded, you're looking at right around 48 cubic feet of room. So if you do have a smaller family, or maybe this is just going to be your daily driver, I think you can fit everything back here, no problem, on a daily basis. Also adding to the cargo space, on both sides of this cargo area, you do have some deep cubbies for some smaller items, like maybe a couple water bottles, car detailing equipment, or maybe even a first aid kit. Also, of course, you are going to have your rear cargo cover, which will keep all your valuable items out of sight. So if you are like me and you have camera gear or anything else of value, you can leave them back here and have that peace of mind knowing that no one will be able to peek in and steal what you have. Then once you're done, just press the button and the liftgate will close automatically. All right, so we're now behind the wheel of the Audi Q3. Let's take this subcompact crossover out for a quick test drive to see how it performs, how it handles, how it drives, how it compares to other luxury subcompact crossovers I've reviewed in the past, but also to see if the 40 TFSI is adequate for daily driving. I have to be honest, I've never come across a 40 TFSI, so this is kind of a rare opportunity. So this is going to be pretty interesting and intriguing. I want to see if the 2-liter 4-cylinder is good with this amount of horsepower, or you might want to go with that 45 TFSI. Now, I do have to be honest though, for a subcompact crossover that is priced around $43,000, I'm genuinely impressed with the amount of technology and features we have on this model, because we have a memory driver's seat, we have dual zone climate control, heated front seats, also of course we have the black optic package. For a vehicle like this under $45,000, for somebody who is just looking for an upscale daily driver at this price point, this might be a great choice, especially if you're comparing this to, say, maybe a Volkswagen Taos or maybe even a Mazda CX-30. One thing I will say though is that by going with the 40 TFSI, you are sacrificing quite a bit in regards to performance, because with 184 horsepower, 221 pound-feet of torque, this does lack a lot of low-end torque and the ability to get up to speed in a quick manner. Now, I'm not saying this isn't a decent upgrade over, say, a Honda HR-V, a non-turbo Mazda CX-30, or even a Toyota Corolla Cross. I think if you're somebody who likes a vehicle of this size and you don't need a vehicle with the horsepower figures over 228 horsepower, then I think you're going to like the 40 TFSI. Also, another thing too, if you don't opt for extra packages and extra features, you're getting this at a better price point than the BMW X1 and Mercedes Benz GLA. Also, just from a size perspective, I would go with this over a GLA because the GLA has more of a hatchback-like design and it is going to feel a bit more claustrophobic inside, whereas the Q3, this does feel like a baby Q5 in essence, especially when it comes to its design, the interior layout, but also just the way it feels on the roadways. Because when you sit behind the wheel, you have a nice commanding feel and presence over the roadways. You also sit decently high up, which is a bit of a surprise. A lot of vehicles in this market feel like lifted hatchbacks and lifted small compact cars. So the fact that this kind of feels like an SUV or a crossover, I think does go a long way, especially if you do live up here in New England and you're experiencing winter road conditions 3, 4, maybe 5 months out of the year. Also, of course, you have quattro all-wheel drive coming standard, a great pairing for a vehicle and for somebody who definitely lives in colder regions of the US. Now, another thing too that I like about the Q3 is the amount of vision you have here to work with, on top of the fact that you do sit pretty high up in this crossover. You have a nice panoramic view. A-pillars are somewhat thin, so you won't have any blind spots when you are approaching intersections or red lights. Taking a look at your side mirrors, they are decently sized. I can see what's in my blind spots. And then looking out back, even though we do have more of a hatchback rear fascia, I can see what's directly behind me. So I have a lot of visibility, and that really adds to the safety. Now, one thing I will say too is that with the Q3, you are getting a lot of refinement. You're getting a lot of quality, but also you're still getting a vehicle built on the MQB platform, which is still one of the best platforms we have ever seen in this segment. And I think the platform alone is why you might choose this over a GLA, over a BMW X1 or X2, although BMW has closed the gap with their latest generation for the X1 and X2. But if you're somebody that's looking for something a bit more tech-focused and also luxury-focused, you're gonna like this product for sure. And on a daily basis, not only do you have these very comfortable seats, but also you have a full digital gauge cluster, which is very easy to read, and also Audi's MMI user interface, which I still think is one of the cleanest setups we have in vehicles in this market. So let's get on the highway. Let's spend some time going highway speeds with the Q3. Now, while the Q3 is not sporty or agile, I wish Audi would give us an SQ3. The handling does provide a lot of confidence. And getting up to highway speeds, able to safely merge, not too bad. Another thing to keep in mind here as well is that with the Q3, you are going to have an 8-speed automatic transmission, which pairs very well with this powertrain. It's going to help out with really hiding the fact that this is going to be a bit more of a sluggish engine compared to the 228 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque that we see with the 45 TFSI. But at highway speeds at around 55 miles an hour, road noise really isn't too bad. You really can't expect anything more for a vehicle in this market. This does seem to be on par with what I've experienced with the BMW X1 and also Mercedes Benz GLA. But more importantly though, for a vehicle that does not have a sports-tuned suspension, nor does it have the heaviest of steering, it does feel like you have a lower center of gravity, which is definitely giving this vehicle more of a car vibe to it, not necessarily like we see with the Q5. But it's definitely a great option to tool around town in or in the city and suburbs. And I think its maneuverability is going to be a great pairing for somebody who does have to deal with on-street parking and also, of course, deal with traffic in the city. You can definitely get yourself out of tight jams and situations. Now, on the brakes, not too bad. Just provides some feedback, so you're not going straight to the floor here when you are on that brake pedal. And again, the steering is firm, but not as heavily weighted as we see with the BMW X1 or X2. But it also provides a bit more feedback than what we see from Mercedes-Benz. I do one more loop back onto the highway. Into the corner, nothing too crazy at around 30 miles an hour. Do feel some body roll, but that's to be expected. Back on the throttle. and we've merged onto the highway safely. So, honestly, even though the numbers would suggest that this would be a slow and lethargic crossover, I think because of its weight and size, it still feels relatively quick for what it is. When you consider what you're getting here at around $43,000, $44,000, the features alone makes this a great daily driver. I can totally see somebody using this on a weekly commute, but also, especially up here in Maine. I don't really know Maine that well, coming from Boston, but I think this is also going to be a suitable road trip vehicle as well, because the suspension is very comfortable. You don't feel a lot of the bumps and imperfections, but also, and in true Audi fashion, it feels very smooth and everything is linear when it comes to the performance, especially when you are at highway speeds. Off the line, there is some turbo lag, but besides that, this is a solid luxury subcompact crossover and entry point into the Audi lineup. So to wrap up my time with the 2024 Audi Q3, what are my final thoughts and takeaways for this luxury subcompact crossover? I think the ultimate takeaway would be that you got to go with the 45 TFSI. I think having 228 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque is the perfect package for a vehicle of this size. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't care about performance, you just want luxury, you want quality, you want refinement, you want the technology, then I think spending a little extra for the Q3 over a Volkswagen or maybe even some other mainstream brands might be a better choice for you. Adding on to what this vehicle provides, not only in regards to technology, but also the quality of the interior, is the fact that it's also practical as well. The fact that you have 23 cubic feet of room behind the second row seats, but also the cabin is decently sized as well. So you don't feel claustrophobic, you don't feel like you're in a very small vehicle. So I think that if you are looking for a luxury and upscale daily driver, but you don't really care about the performance at the end of the day, then I think a Q3 40 TFSI actually might be a good choice for you. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Boston Autoblog so you can see what I'm up to and what vehicles I'll be featuring in the future. And I will see you guys next time.